What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another ranking. With the release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the 9th film from Quentin Tarantino, it's time for me to give you guys my ranking of all 9 Quentin Tarantino movies from worst to best. If you guys are new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and that bell notification icon for more reviews, reactions, rankings, and more movie content. Before I get started, be sure to let me know your ranking for all of Quentin Tarantino's movies down below in the comments section. If you guys haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet, then leave the films that you have seen of Tarantino down below in that comment section. And also keep in mind, this is a subjective list. This is not the right list overall. These are just my opinions. And if you don't like my list, that is completely fine. Just all I ask is that you be respectful down below in the comments section and be respectful of each other's list, because all film is subjective and we all have different loves. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Death Proof. Now, Death Proof is not an awful movie at all. I'll just say this right off the bat. There's not one Tarantino film that I dislike on this list. I think Death Proof is really underrated. I just love the look of this movie and the revenge aspects as well. Stuntman Mike, played by Kurt Russell, was really good, and just the whole film centers around Stuntman Mike and that he's this insane driver who kills prostitutes. I think the reason why people don't like this movie that much is just because it was a double feature, in that it was released as the Grindhouse film era with Robert Rodriguez. I thought Tarantino did a great job with the dialogue sequences and the performances all around. I also love the women aspect as well, seeing from Rosario Dawson's standards as well, and seeing that whole entire ending that was really good, that drive-in sequence with Stuntman Mike and those women, and that really satisfying ending as well. Coming in at number 8 is going to be, what a shocker, The Hateful Eight. Haha, no pun intended. The Hateful Eight, this is definitely a really good Tarantino film. I love The Hateful Eight so much. I think the main reason why it lands at number 8 is just because of rewatchability and Death Proof as well. When it comes to Tarantino films, these are the two that I rewatch the least. I love the performances from Samuel L. Jackson. Kurt Russell's fantastic. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Walton Goggins might have been my favorite character in this movie besides Sam Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson's by far my favorite character. That Black Dingus scene is just iconic. The pacing definitely drags compared to other Tarantino films. This movie's 2 hours and 47 minutes long, and I did feel the runtime in this movie, unfortunately, compared to other long Tarantino films. I thought the first act was a little too long and not too much build up to the second and third act. I thought the second and third act were better acts all around, but once it gets to the final conclusion all around with Samuel L. Jackson's character and Walton Goggins, it gets great. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. Tarantino considers both Kill Bill films one movie. Now, I thought the Kill Bill movies fantastic as well. Kill Bill Volume 1 is a really good action movie, like some of the best action sequences all around. I just really love Uma Thurman as the bride. She has a really sad backstory of just that whole massacre at her wedding. She just wants to get revenge on Bill, and we get to that in Volume 2, but in Volume 1, I just love the action sequences in the final act. I love that whole entire action sequence against the crazy 88s, like that is just totally iconic. A lot of people say that that final fight was definitely glossed over, but I thought the build up to it was really good. And just the tension from Tarantino, adding in those dialogue sequences, as well as those action sequences, it mixes well together. I think my biggest issue is that the death of Vivica A. Fox as Vernita, that was a really shocking death, and I didn't want to see her die because I really liked her character and wanted more of her. And Kill Bill Volume 2 is a really great sequel. We find out the bride's real name is Beatrix Kiddo, and Uma Thurman, this is finally her vengeance path to Bill. And we finally see Bill in person, played by David Carradine. There's so much more dialogue in Volume 2, like that whole dialogue sequence at the end with Bill and Beatrix Kiddo, talking about comic books and Superman and Spider-Man, different origin stories and different superhero names. It's just really cool, alternate identities. It's so awesome. I think everybody loves that fight sequence with Elle Driver in that she takes out her eyes and all that. It gets bloody, gruesome. Some of the most brutal action sequences here are in Kill Bill Volume 2. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Jackie Brown. Now, if you talk about underrated Tarantino movies, this is hands down Tarantino's underrated masterpiece. If you talk about great Tarantino openings with songs, everybody talks about Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, etc. No, Jackie Brown should be in that conversation. Because that opening sequence of Jackie Brown with 110th Street, like that song's so amazing. And it's one of the best openings to a movie all around. Pam Grier as Jackie Brown is really great. Michael Keaton is also in it. Michael Keaton, for the amount of screen time he has, is great. Robert Forster got an Academy Award nomination for this movie. Great. Samuel L. Jackson, awesome. And Robert De Niro, also great. The cast he got involved for this film. I love dialogue in Tarantino films. Like, there's so many dialogue sequences in this movie that are intense and awesome and bloody as well. And I really love Jackie Brown for just the realistic aspects. When it comes to Tarantino's more realistic films, this is definitely one of them. A lot of people found this movie boring in that it was too long and the dialogue was kind of boring. I highly disagree. Jackie Brown, I didn't feel the runtime at all. I love the final act. It's one of the more original final acts Tarantino has done, and it's so damn underrated. Now we're getting to the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is going to be the newly released Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just saw this movie late last night, and my review is now out on my channel, so go check it out, guys. And I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it ranks at number 5 just because I've seen it once. It could definitely move up on multiple rewatches. But still, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, great cast all around. They give fantastic performances. Tarantino, he loves his 60s style of filmmaking, and just, he transports you into the 1960s. And also, the film doesn't highly focus on the Manson stuff, and it just brings you into this world that Tarantino is trying to tell with fantastic performances, with gruesome Tarantino stuff. And a lot of people have been saying, and I definitely agree with this, that this is the least Tarantino out of all of his films. This feels like a personal story, and there's not a lot of crazy Tarantino stuff until we get to the ending. But still, I agree with that. I won't talk about more. You can go watch my review for my full thoughts. But still, this movie is classic Tarantino. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Reservoir Dogs. I love Reservoir Dogs. What a simple idea for a story, a diamond heist, and we're trying to figure out who the culprit is. I love the different names of the different colors. I love Harvey Keitel as Mr. White. Steve Buscemi as Mr. Pink is definitely my favorite character. Tim Roth as Mr. Orange. And Michael Madsen as Mr. Blonde. I just love the different characteristics and all the dialogue in this movie. This is I believe this is Tarantino's shortest film. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I just love what Tarantino does. And he doesn't focus on the diamond heist. He focuses on the aftermath of it. And while I definitely knew, rewatching it multiple times, that Tim Roth is the culprit, he's the cop, I just love the different characteristics going on. I love Mr. Pink's perspective, Mr. White's perspective, Mr. Orange's perspective. They're trying to play it out like it's him, but it definitely drags a little bit, and that's one of my issues. But still, I think if you talk about another favorite character of mine, it's Michael Madsen as Mr. Blonde. Like that sequence where he's torturing that cop. Oh my god, it is Tarantino's brilliance, and it's so damn good. And this movie is so damn good. Coming in number 3 is going to be Inglorious Basterds. I love Inglorious Basterds. This is definitely top 3 Tarantino. That opening scene with Hans Landa and that farmer. It is 20 minutes of intensity on the edge of your seat. And Tarantino, that's one of my favorite opening sequences to a film ever. And I love the performances from everybody. The best by far is Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. And an Oscar-winning performance. Christoph Waltz definitely leads this whole film as a villain character. He's extremely intimidating, but very clever as well. Whenever he comes into the room, you know shit is gonna go down. And Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo Rain. This is my favorite performance from Brad Pitt. I love him in this movie. I love his charisma and his cocky attitude and everything. That bar scene gets insane and crazy. Daniel Bruhl as well. I love Daniel Bruhl in this movie for the amount of screen time he has in that theater sequence. Holy crap, that theater sequence is insane. Like, this is definitely the most insane Tarantino film. Some crazy stuff happens, but it's so damn worth it. At number 2 is Pulp Fiction, the movie you guys were expecting to be number 1, but Pulp Fiction, this is hands down Tarantino's best film if I'm talking facts. Like, Pulp Fiction is Tarantino at his masterpiece level. Like, this was an Oscar-worthy film, and Tarantino, if you just talk about non-stop dialogue that is interesting and intense, it's Pulp Fiction. The movie opens up with Amanda Plummer as Honey Bunny and Tim Roth as well. Like, it opens with them having a 5-minute dialogue sequence at a diner. And then we get right to the credits, and we go right to Vincent Vega and Jules, John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. Like, you think they're the main characters, but they're not. We go to Butch Coolidge, played by Bruce Willis. You think, I would say he's kind of the main character. He has more screen time than Travolta and Jackson. And I would say my favorite character is definitely Butch Coolidge. I love his backstory all around, and Bruce Willis gives an amazing performance all around in that film. And Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace is classic, and Mia Wallace played by Uma Thurman. Like, the cast in this movie is insane. Christopher Walken for that one scene of his where he's talking about a watch and shoving it up his ass. Like, dialogue like that just gets, what? But it works because it's Tarantino. Like, all the dialogue in this movie just gets insane. Just the scenes with Jules and Vincent Vega talking about a quarter pounder with cheese in France and what it's called. A Royale with cheese. With Jules just interrogating that man. Say what again? Say what again? And my number 1 favorite Tarantino film is Django Unchained. Django! This is my favorite Tarantino film. If you ask me what I think is the most rewatchable Tarantino film, the greatest Tarantino film, the bloodiest Tarantino film, it's Django for me. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I rewatch this more than any other Tarantino film. I love the character of Django, played by Jamie Foxx. I think this is one of his best performances ever. I just love the revenge aspect story with Django. He's trying to get Broomhilda back, his wife. And I love how he meets Dr. Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz, another Oscar-winning performance for him. And just the teamwork these two have and the conversations they have. They work really well together, Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz. Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. First of all, the fact that he didn't even get nominated for an Oscar is crazy, and the fact he didn't win. While I love Christoph Waltz, Leo should have won Best Supporting Actor, because Calvin Candy is the most insane, out-of-this-world character that Leo has played. This is a villain, and it works. When Calvin Candy just gets introduced as this insane guy watching slaves fight each other. Like, he just loves people fighting each other. And we get introduced as well to Samuel L. Jackson's character, Steven, who I think is the culprit antagonist in this film. And he's running Candyland. He's smarter than Calvin Candy. He knows what Django is up to. And Samuel L. Jackson's so good. Like, Sam Jackson and Leo should be in another movie together, because they're fantastic as villains. And this movie gets bloody crazy in the final act with Django shooting up all those bad guys in that final ending sequence, blowing up Candyland. It's so satisfying. And there's that ultimate risk of this being a slave movie, and Tarantino uses the N-word a lot. But that still works for me because I'm engaged with the storytelling and the acting. Like, out of all of Tarantino's films, I rewatch this the most, and it's hands down my favorite Tarantino film. There you have it, guys. That was my ranking for all 9 Quentin Tarantino movies. What did you guys think of my list? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? And if you do disagree, let me know your list down below in the comments. Thank you guys, as always, for watching this ranking. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.